We hear you,
Evening,
Joe.
everyone. Today is Monday, June 1st, 2020. It's 5 o'clock. This is a special virtual meeting of the Enfield Town Council. Again, you can see it live on YouTube or tomorrow night on local channel 16. It'll air tomorrow night. We have roll call, please, Suzanne.
Councilor Bosco. Councilor Bosco is here. Councilor Sakala.
Here.
Councilor Hemler.
Here.
Councilor Keiner.
Here.
Mayor Ludwig.
Here.
Councilor Mangini.
Here.
Councilor Muller.
Here.
Councilor Riley.
Here.
Councilor Sferrazza.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
Here.
Councilor Ungary.
Here.
11 members are present, none are absent.
Do I have a motion to move in executive session?
So moved.
Second.
By Councilor Mother, seconded by Councilor Mangini. We will now go into executive session. item 3. Welcome back, everyone. Sorry for, again, about an hour in exec session. We're now on to item 3 on our virtual town council meeting. Discussion resolution, request transfer of funds for the Family Resource Center of $50,000. Resolve that in accordance with Chapter 6, Section 8 of the Charter, the following transfers are hereby made. From the Family Resource to the Family Resource Center, $50,000 from the Resource Center Lego Group COVID-19 of $50,000, certified that the above funds are available on May 27th, 2020 by John Wilcox, the Director of Finance, approved by Christopher Bromson, the Town Manager, on May 27th.
So moved.
By Councilor Mother, seconded by Councilor Riley. Chris, I think this is a new grant because obviously it's COVID related from Lego.
That's correct. This is a $50,000 grant from the Lego Group, and it is to the Family Resource Center as we've listed it. It's to kits to be given to children part of the Enfield Resource Center. Cindy is on the line to answer any questions that you might have.
Hello.
Cindy, you have any comments? Just in case you're on the line, if you have any, our Director of Social Services, just want to make sure you have a chance if you have any questions or comments.
Sure. This is a really exciting opportunity, and it speaks to the value that LEGO sees of our Family Resource Center, Early Childhood Development Center, and Youth Services. We have a long history of working well with them. In this specific case, this is coming from their international headquarters as opposed to the other funding we get from their local foundation. It's an opportunity to really augment the learning at home that families and children have been undertaking, sometimes struggling, sometimes not, but it really increases and enhances child development in different ways by providing these kits. Not only will kits be provided with materials for families, but the online learning will be held by the parent educators, giving parents ideas and grandparents ideas on how to use the materials around their child's learning.
Thank you, Cindy. Chris, we'll move on to questions. Deputy Mayor Suzak, going right to the left.
Chris, this is in addition to the kits that they normally assemble for the summer?
Cindy can answer that. This is coming directly from corporate in Denmark, and they've actually asked us to not comment too much about it, but I'll leave that to Cindy.
Oh, no, I was just wanting to know if we're still.
No,
doing
I'm just,
our
she can answer that. Go ahead, Cindy.
Yes, these are in addition, and they'll also be providing kits, Legos and Duplos to the family as another donation.
Okay, yeah, because I know, there's always been, evenings where people have all gotten together to assemble these kits, and I was just wondering if 'cause I'm not involved with Kite anymore, if this is still, going on without a hitch.
Yeah, this is separate from Kite's activities, and with the restrictions on gatherings, these will largely be done at home and with the online learning.
Thank you.
It's quite generous, and suffice it to say, this is the type of donor that would have rather have been anonymous completely, but given our requirements to make this transfer, we had to bring it to light. I will say it's particularly fitting today, June 1st, that under the leadership of both Cindy and Karen Edelson, that our ECDC has reopened to the first group of students. It's remarkable. Parents, children are very excited. They work so hard to try to accomplish that, to help everybody. It's just an award-winning program. And under all of the constraints and executive orders and the rules that are changing on a daily basis, it is no small accomplishment. And I think this is an appropriate gift, even though it wasn't given for that purpose. I'm going to pretend it was, and it's well-deserved.
Councilor Muller,
No questions, thank you.
Councilor Ungary,
No questions, thanks.
Councilor Hemmler,
No questions, thanks.
Councilor Bosco,
All set.
Councilor Keiner,
No questions, thank you.
Councilor Sakala,
I think it's great. No questions.
Councilor Mangini,
No questions.
Councilor Riley,
An awesome partnership. No questions.
Councilor Speraza,
All set, thank you.
yeah, Cindy, I mean, again, great job for ECDC opening up today, helping our kids, but our working parents. Kudos to you and your staff. And as always, Lego is just a fantastic corporate partner here to the town of Enfield. So well done.
Thank you very much.
Hearing none, Suzanne, roll call, please.
Counselor Bosco,
Four.
Counselor Sakala,
4.
Counselor Hemler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4,
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini,
4.
Counselor Muller,
4.
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Sferrazza,
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Moving on to item 4, discussion resolution revising title of nuisance official, of public nuisance officer. Whereas the governor's executive order number 7 PP, section 2.b. provides that the municipality's chief executive officer shall select employees who shall have authority over enforcement of the sector rules issued by the State Department of Economic and Community Development. Whereas in accordance thereof, Town Manager Christopher W. Bronson appointed Ricardo Rochelli to serve as the enforcement officer with the title of public nuisance officer. And whereas the town of Enfield believes the role of the enforcement official is to assist and help businesses reopen and move our community forward, be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council revise the title of the enforcement to business assistance officer as intention to foster a positive business and economic climate 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Muller, second by Councilor Mangini. I know Chris, this was directly from an executive order, but I know you want to make sure we want to make sure that the public understands really what our purpose of this is. I don't know, Chris, you still there?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought it was important to clarify and amend the governor's executive order. I'm going to turn it over in a moment to the town attorney. Normally with legislation, and we see it on our local level, you see how much time and effort we put into revising our motor vehicle and our blight ordinances to make sure people have input. There's public hearing. We legislate, you all make amendments, and then it's phased in and there's an effective date. Well, with these executive orders, they've come fast and furious. They're often substantive and complex. This one was no different. They come overnight and they're effective immediately. And this is one that came from the governor. And I just like the town attorney to just make a brief mention of the complexity of it, what we were confronted with, and then I'll sort of give you the time frame on what led me to ask the council to change the title of these fine individuals that are helping us in this project.
Thank you, sir. Attorney Talberg.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Executive Order 7 PP issued on May 18th, in the days just before the May 20 reopen. Hard to believe. I think that was all happened so quickly that it's pretty much a blur. But it is a mandatory order that was not well received in many municipalities. In fact, in some municipalities, there was outright resistance to appointing a new official to basically supervise new rules. And I think some municipalities may have actually defied the order, but we viewed it as a mandatory order from the governor, and so we acted swiftly. But the executive order actually doesn't require, in our view, that there be a particular title. Although these officials have authority over public nuisances, the executive order is also phrased that the chief executive or town manager may appoint a municipal designee. And so the thought process was that these municipal designees should be there to help facilitate reopening, as opposed to some more adversarial engagement with a business owner. And so the town manager wanted to make clear that our town employees are there to help businesses get back on their feet as opposed to anything else.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Thank you, Mr. Town Attorney. Yeah, I think it was a very poorly named public nuisance enforcement officer. Sounds like we were trying to enforce regulations and to hinder people. I, in my press release, said clearly it was not our intent to hinder or to prohibit any lawful openings. I will tell you, when the governor orders me as your CEO to do something and says I shall do it, I'm going to follow the law. I just want to give you the background. May 20th, we made sure our staff advised and assisted the planning and zoning in passing the enabling statute for outdoor dining in the town of Enfield. That was May 14th. The governor then passes this enforcement action on May 18th. I didn't want there to be any delay or miscommunication or misunderstanding as to who those businesses would go to for assistance. So when we received this on May 18th, I talked to the chief of police, our blight officers, the town attorney, Lori Witten of Development Services, and said who would best be suited and capable of doing it. We decided that our zoning enforcement officer has experience dealing with the public on all sorts of matters. Our blight officers are there during the day. They usually resolve matters with the public. And the only reason we indicated that the chief of police would be an alternate and named a couple of handpicked individuals that would be available evenings and nighttime because the rest of the staff wouldn't be there. I did not want any delay or ambiguity when businesses needed to reopen. It was our desire and our goal that restaurants be able to get back in business and reopen their doors to save their businesses and provide for their families and workers. So this was issued as an edict May 18th. I appointed our officials on May 20th. And I will tell you, Rick Rochelle, under the auspices of this authority, because he has that ability, and we put it out there, and businesses knew who to go to. Under the governor's edict and planning and zoning empowered, businesses must submit an application with diagrams. They have to indicate size of tables, number of tables, distance apart. If they're using tents or umbrellas, a safety plan. They're not used to doing this. I wanted somebody there to help them, not to hinder them. And Rick Rochelle has gone out there, and you can talk to these following restaurants that are all open, that were assisted and guided through the process with Mr. Rochelle being there to coordinate the input that's required from the building officials, from our fire marshals, from the health department, and from the police department that enable them to reopen their doors without any kind of problem. He helped them amend the plans, and the following businesses, because of our assistance in implementing this, are the Buena Vita Restaurant, Chicago Sam's, Pizza Palace, Figaro's Restaurant, the Country Diner, the Yard Tavern, Serapi's, the 99 Restaurant, Hot Table, TGI Fridays. All of those restaurants were able to do this in record time because we had staff available, that we weren't afraid of the law. I believe when you're given a lemon, make lemonade. So even though the title was a bad one, this corrects it today by saying these are business assistant officers. It's going to even be more critical to have this staff available on the next reopening June 20th, when other businesses are going to have to comply with the morass of executive orders. So we stood up immediately to help our businesses, not leave them to be out there flailing in the wind, not knowing who to go to, calling the town to say, well, who is it? Where do I go? What do I do? All the meanwhile, the doors have been closed. So I may seem a little passionate about this because I am. Enfield has stood up during this. All of our departments, all of our employees have stood tall, and we have delivered our services and assisted our businesses and our residents during this most trying time. And so I think it's fitting that we have asked you to name this, to let it be very clear that these are business assistant officers. These are not business impediment officers. And I thank them for their hard work and all that they've done in the last couple of weeks. And I'm proud to report other restaurants are now in the process of trying or, applying to reopen, and we'll assess them too.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Moving again, right to left. Deputy Suzak, any questions?
Just great job. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Councilor Muller,
No questions. Thank you.
Councilor Ungary,
No, thank you.
Councilor Hemler,
No questions, thanks.
Councilor Bosco,
Thanks for the clarification.
Councilor Keiner,
No questions.
Councilor Sakala,
Great job. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Counselor.
Councilor Mangini,
I'm good, thanks.
Councilor Riley,
Thank you. No questions.
Councilor Speraza,
All set. All set.
Chris, I'll just say I personally, the help that Rick has provided And again, I think this is a really nice, simple but effective change in how we're approaching this. Again, state mandating it. I'm sorry. State mandating it. We're following the state mandate, but we're also doing it in a way that's helping our businesses, not trying to prevent them even further from succeeding. And I agree. I think this is the right approach. And again, I give Rick credit. I've heard positive feedback myself. So again, I think I agree with you. This is very important. And again, this was
Thank you.
directly an impact from an executive order from the governor. The town did not, implement this. We're just implementing the executive order. And I think it's a key clarification. So I'm glad we had this on the agenda tonight, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Suzanne, roll call, please.
Counselor Bosco,
4.
Counselor Sakala,
4.
Counselor Hemler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4,
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini,
4.
Counselor Muller,
4.
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Sferrazza,
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Moving on to item 5, the resolution authorizing the town manager to enter into a lease agreement with CSI Leasing. Whereas the Information Technology Department has determined that contracting to lease technology equipment for the support of the Enfield Public Schools, municipality, public safety and titles is in the best interest of the town. And whereas the technology lease for the town will allow for procurement of hardware required to operate and manage public schools, municipal, and public safety information. Whereas the Enfield Town Council deems a multi-year lease of for the
So
school,
moved.
public safety to be in the best interest of the town. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council authorizes the town manager to enter in a 3-year lease for technology equipment with CSI Leasing Inc. is authorized to execute all documents as required. Prepared by the town manager's office on May 22nd, 2020.
So moved.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Suzak. Second
Yep, second.
by Councilor Mangini. I know Paul's here. Paul, I think this is the continuation, Paul, of something you've been working on really for over a year.
Yes,
Chris,
Paul,
I
this,
certainly will defer
this,
to you. Yep.
yep, the overview is, I believe it's a $300,000 contract. It's a 3-year. We had a 3-year previous at $100,000 a year that has expired. This is in the next year's budget. We have done previously the security contracts, Palo Alto at the last meeting. This is with Hewlett Packard for basically leading industry leading specifications for equipment, and it'll be for 3 years. And I believe basically it's $100,000 over the next 3 years. But Paul again accomplished a savings because the normal rate, and he'll elaborate, would have been about $420,000. So once again, he's negotiated a very favorable rate for the town of Enfield. Paul, would you like to add anything before?
Sure. What we did is we utilized the Massachusetts higher ed contract, and we took 15% off of that with dealing with the vendors. Otherwise, we were going to go to a different vendor other than HP, and they came up because they like utilizing our town for their show place. So they like showing that our technology that we bring in is the highest quality, and that we follow the process of replacing it every 3 years. By doing the actual lease, the total cost out of pocket for the town is roughly 90% of the total cost of the equipment that we're purchasing. So what would have been $420,000, the cost of the equipment is $330,000, and over the next 3 years we'll pay $300,000 for it. So net savings would be roughly $30,000, and then we refresh the equipment again.
Thank you, Paul. I'm glad you mentioned the savings. Again, really nice job negotiating this contract.
Thank you.
Moving again right to left, Deputy Mayor Suzak, any questions?
All set.
Councilor Muller,
All set. Thank you.
Councilor Ungary,
No questions, thank you.
Councilor Hemler,
All set, thanks.
Councilor Bosco,
All set.
Councilor Keiner,
no questions.
Councilor Sakala,
Nope, I'm good, thanks.
Counselor Mangini,
Good.
Counselor Riley,
No questions, thanks.
Counselor Speraza.
All set.
Roll call, please, Suzanne.
Counselor Bosco,
4,
Counselor Sakala,
4.
Counselor Hemler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4,
Mayor Ludwig,
4,
Counselor Mangini,
4.
Counselor Muller,
4,
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Srazza,
4,
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Suzanne. Thank you, Paul. Moving to item 6, resolution authorizing the town manager to sign a lease agreement with Collins Powder Hill Farm LLC. Whereas Collins Powder Hill Farm LLC wishes to lease for the 2020 growing season approximately 11 plus acres of town-owned land located on the northeast corner of 77 Town Farm Road, commonly known as the Town of Enfield Transfer Station property, shown in the Enfield Land Records Book of Maps, volume 226, pages 3,321 through 3,324. And whereas Collins Powder Hill Farm LLC has previously leased this property for 2017, 2018, and 2019 growing seasons, now therefore be it resolved, the town manager, Christopher W. Brownson, is empowered to enter into the attached lease agreement in a name on behalf of the town of Enfield with Collins Powder Hill Farm LLC, prepared by the town attorney's office on May 26, 2020.
so moved.
Second.
By Councilor Muller. Second by
Second.
Councilor Mangini. Second by Councilor Mangini. Thank you. Chris, I know, pretty straightforward. I don't know if you have any comments on this. We've been doing it.
No, we've had this lease agreement with Mr. John Collins of Collins Farm since 2017. It's been increased over the years. He's asked for a renewal this year, and we're just suggesting we keep it at the $100 an acre this year and renew it with him for another year. It preserves the property. We do get some income from it, and we still have our options available for other uses in the future as the town may deem appropriate, as it's directly adjacent to the transfer station property.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, Deputy Mayor Suzak, any questions? Councilor Muller, any questions?
All set, thank you.
Councilor Ungary, any questions?
No, thank you.
Councilor Hemler, any questions?
No questions.
Councilor Bosco,
no questions.
Councilor Keiner,
no questions.
Councilor Sakala,
So I got kicked off for some reason, so I missed a lot of that. Are we renewing the same lease for the same price, for the same amount?
Yes.
Okay. Then I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Councilor Mangini,
I just wanted to comment, they're a good partner with the town of Enfield. I definitely will support this.
Councilor Riley,
I'm good. Thank you.
Councilor Speraza,
All set, thank you.
Suzanne, roll call, please.
Counselor Bosco,
4,
Counselor Sakala,
4.
Counselor Hemler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4,
Mayor Ludwig,
4,
Counselor Mangini,
4.
Counselor Muller,
4,
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Sferrazza,
4,
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Item number 7, discussion resolution authorizing the town manager to execute assistance agreement with the state of Connecticut Department of Housing for the 2019 Community Development Block Grant Small Cities Program for Laurel Park. Whereas federal monies were made available under the Connecticut Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program administered by the state of Connecticut Department of Housing pursuant to Public Law 93-383 as amended. And whereas pursuant to Chapter 127C and Part 6 of Chapter 130 of the Connecticut General Statutes, the Commissioner of Housing is authorized to disperse such federal monies to local municipalities. And whereas on September 26, 2019, State of Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont announced the town of Enfield was awarded a Small Cities Community Development Block Grant in amount of $175,000 for electrical upgrades at the Laurel Park Housing Complex. Whereas it is desirable and in public interest that the town of Enfield execute the assistance agreement between the state of Connecticut and the town of Enfield, now therefore be it resolved by the Enfield Town Council that it is cognizant of the conditions and prerequisites for state assistance imposed by Part 6 of Chapter 130 of the Connecticut General Statutes, and the assistant agreement between the state of Connecticut and the town of Enfield in an amount of not to exceed $175,000 for the public housing modernization is hereby approved, that the town manager is hereby authorized and directed to execute such other documents as may be required by the commissioner, to execute an assistance agreement with the state of Connecticut for the state financial assistance, to execute any amendments, rescissions, revisions thereto, and to act in the authorized representative of the town of Enfield.
So
Do
moved.
I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Second,
Councilor Mangini,
second,
seconded by Councilor Riley. You know, Chris, this I know, as I said, we've been working this over almost close to a year now, and this is to hopefully move the electrical upgrades forward.
Yes, and that was a difficult resolution to read, Mr. Mayor. You did a good job on it. I will just say yes. Nelson
Yeah.
Teresa took a lot of time. He was able to work with the state and obtain the $175,000 grant for Enfield Housing, particularly the Laurel Park Housing Complex and the electrical upgrades. He did a very, very fine job. The state now requires that we then enter into this sub-recipient agreement with Enfield Housing to actually get the money to them to do the work. And I would just like to take the opportunity to commend him on that and to assure the council, although we weren't able to do the grant writer for the entire town, that Councilor Sakala endorsed and is very worthwhile. I want you to know that in the interim, we haven't stopped. We, as I said previously, have formed a grant review committee. It is convening this week with Kasha Perciello, because interestingly, even during these difficult times, there seems to be, I'm not going to say an abundance, but a lot of grant opportunities out there in social services, some from the state of Connecticut and DOT. We're pursuing them all. We have a really fine group of people together. Nelson's involved and a lot of other key staff. And we're going to throw our net in the water and try to, obtain whatever grants we can for our town that we're eligible for and that are appropriate. So even though we weren't able to put in the grant writer, and we'll revisit that in better times, that doesn't mean that we're not actually redoubling our efforts to make sure that we avail ourselves of anything that's out there in the state or on the federal level. And
Thank you,
Nelson's
sir.
available. Nelson's available if you have any inquiries.
Nelson, I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
No, I mean, this item was supposed to be on the agenda on March 16th due to the pandemic. The meeting was postponed, so this got pushed back a little bit. This is a assistance agreement between us and the Department of Housing. There's a sub-recipient agreement that's going to be the next resolution between the town and Enfield Housing Authority. This grant's basically going to cover electrical upgrades, which means basically replacing 83 main breaker panels, 83 meter boxes, all the drop service wires running into these properties at Laurel Park. About 83 homes are going to be serviced by these grant funds. When that takes place, that's yet to be determined, but we're going to be, the first priority is getting this money closed with the state, and then we're going to proceed with going out to bid this summer.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Mhm.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
all set, nice.
Councilor Muller,
All set. Thank you.
Councilor Ungar,
No questions, thanks.
Councilor Hemler,
No questions.
Councilor Bosco, Councilor Bosco, Councilor Keiner,
No questions, thank you.
Councilor Sakala,
No, good job.
Councilor Mangini,
I'm good.
Councilor Riley,
Sounds good. Thank you.
Councilor Speraza.
All set, thanks.
Yeah, Nelson, I'll just say, great partnership with the Enfield Housing Authority. My only question, will for the electricians, will they have to be on the state bid list to get the jobs?
No, they do not. It's going to be a publicly bid. There's going to be prevailing wage rates,
Yeah.
but they don't need to be on the DIS list. It's going to be a public bid that goes to the lowest responsible and qualified bidder.
Okay, so when that becomes time, that goes through the normal bid process to how we put it, would be through us or the housing authority?
The housing authority.
Got it, okay, thank
But
you.
we'll review the bid package to make sure that all the state requirements and local requirements are in the package.
All right, thank you, sir. Great job on this, and it's great to see us be able to continue to upgrade, again, on a very important part of our town, Laurel Park. Thank you, sir,
Thank you.
for your work.
Mhm.
Suzanne, roll call, please.
Counselor Bosco,
4.
Counselor Sakala,
4.
Counselor Hemler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4,
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini,
4.
Counselor Muller,
4.
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Sferrazza,
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
4.
Counselor Ongire.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Moving on to item 8. Discussion resolution authorized town manager to execute the sub-recipient agreement with the Enfield Housing Authority. Whereas on September 26, 2019, State of Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont announced that the town of Enfield was awarded a small cities community development block grant in the amount of $175,000 for electrical upgrade project, also known as the project at Laurel Park Housing Complex. Whereas the Enfield Housing Authority, also known as EHA, owns the Laurel Park Housing Complex and will be responsible for the implementation and completion of the project. Whereas the town dispersed the grant funds to the EA pursuant to the terms and conditions set forth in the assistance agreement between the town and the state. Whereas it is desirable and in the public interest that the town of Enfield execute a sub-recipient agreement between the town and the Enfield Housing Authority. Now, therefore, be is authorized to sign sub-recipient agreement between the town of Enfield and the Enfield Housing Authority, developed by Nelson, Deputy Director of Economic Development, and prepared on March 9, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
By Councilor Muller, seconded by Councilor Riley. Again, this is the agreement we just spoke of. Chris just explained it, so we'll move right on to questions. Unless, Chris, you have anything else you want to say?
No, I think we covered it. And Nelson answered those
No?
questions. It's
Deputy
part
Mayor
and parcel.
Suzak. Yep, Deputy Mayor Suzak.
All set.
Yep, thank you, sir. Councilor Muller,
All set. Thank you.
Councilor Ongire,
All set, thank you.
All set.
Councilor Hemler,
All set.
Councilor Bosco, Councilor Bosco,
All set.
Councilor Keiner,
no questions. Thank you.
Councilor Sakala,
No questions, thank you.
Councilor Mangini,
All set.
Councilor Riley,
I'm good, thanks.
Councilor Sferrazza.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Suzanne, roll call, please.
Counselor Bosco,
4.
Counselor Sakala,
4.
Counselor Hemler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4,
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini,
4.
Counselor Muller,
4.
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Sferrazza,
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
4.
Counselor Ongire.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Moving on to item 9, discussion resolution regarding adopting the policy and procedure for the Enfield Town Council. Be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council does hereby adopt the policy and procedure for the Enfield Town Council meetings dated December 18, 2017, prepared on February 4, 2020 by the Town Manager's Office,
So moved.
by Councilor
Second.
Muller.
Can I
Second by-
amend?
Second by Deputy Mayor Suzak.
Needs to be amended to say February 4th, 2020.
Okay, hold on. 1 second. So
You
you're
mean
talking about
where
the
it says
resolution itself.
December, right, Donna?
But I can't, what was that?
You mean where it says December, right?
Right.
Okay, good. That's why I was totally
Right.
confused on what we were doing.
I'm totally, yeah.
So
That
okay,
was
so
the last time it was approved. This time is for February 4th,
the last sentence
16th meeting.
the last sentence dated December 18, 2017 should be amended to say dated February 4, 2020.
So moved.
Or-
Amendment made by Deputy Mayor Suzak, seconded by clerk. Suzanne, you got all that?
Yes, I'm all set, thanks.
So, all right, so I'll just real quick, all we're doing is changing the dates to when it was presented to the council. I'll take a quick look. Instead of going around the table, anyone have any questions on the amendment? This is simply for the amendment. I'm looking at your hands on the online screen. This is just the amendment. Okay, so now, just by Suzanne, can we do aye or do we have to go through a round because it's online? Do we just do by ayes or do we have to go by each vote, Suzanne?
Go by ayes.
Okay, everyone in favor, just for the amendment, say aye, but aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Any abstention? Suzanne, I think that's 11-0 on the amendment.
Sounds good.
Now, any questions on the main motion as amended, Deputy Mayor Suzak?
I'm all set. Thank you. This was on the 16th,
Right,
just, of March 16th meeting for approval. And
Yep.
we're just trying to get some business.
Counselor Muller,
All set. Thank you.
Counselor Ungary,
All set, thank you.
Counselor Hemler,
All set.
Counselor Bosco,
All set.
Counselor Keiner,
All set.
Yeah, just one question. Are public hearings impacted in any way by this change in policy and procedure?
No. No, public hearings are not affected.
Okay, thank you. No questions.
Counselor Sakala,
No, I'm good. We did some good work in the policy group, I think.
yeah,
You
agreed.
probably could do some more work, Gina.
Counselor Mangini,
I
Always.
just want to thank the policy committee. They did a great job.
yeah, agreed. Counselor Riley,
Good, thank you.
Counselor Speraza.
I'm good, thanks.
And for the record, the policy committee's Counselor Sakala, Deputy Mayor Suzak, and Counselor Hemler all did a great job and spent a lot of hours on this. They all deserve, again, if we didn't cancel the meeting back on the 16th, we would have voted on it then. Suzanne, roll
Actually,
call,
Jim
please.
was very helpful as well. Attorney Talbridge.
Attorney Talbot, there you go. Thank you, sir. Suzanne, roll call, please.
Counselor Bosco,
4.
Counselor Sakala,
4.
Counselor Hemler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4.
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini, Counselor Muller,
4.
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Sferrazza,
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
And just as before we move on to the water pollution control, our goals, hopefully based on the loosening of the meeting gathering guidance, is to have some form of council meeting in the council chambers, the first meeting of July, where we hope to get back to what is as close to normal as possible. So that's the goal. I want to let the public know. Right now, the meeting limit doesn't allow us just yet to do it. We're hoping to be able to do it somehow for the first meeting in July. We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Counselor Mangini.
Second.
Second.
Deputy Mayor Suzak. All those in favor say aye.
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 Everyone sit tight. We're moving right over to the next part of our meeting. This is the agenda for the Water Pollution Control Authority special meeting Monday, June 1st, 2020. Again, this will be on YouTube and shown on ETV tomorrow. Item number 1, roll call, Suzanne, please.
Commissioner Bosco,
Here.
Commissioner Sakala,
Present.
Commissioner Hemler,
Here.
Commissioner Keiner,
Here.
Chairman Ludwig,
Here.
Commissioner Mangini,
Here.
Commissioner Muller,
Here.
Commissioner Riley,
Here.
Commissioner Sferrazza,
Here.
Vice Chairman Suzak is here.
Here. Sorry.
That's
Here.
okay. Commissioner Ungary,
Here.
11 members present, none are absent.
Thank you, Suzanne. Moving on to item 2, resolution setting a public hearing for the 2020-2021 sewer service fee and rates. Whereas the Enfield Water Pollution Control Authority values the opinions and comments of its constituents. Whereas in accordance with section 86-52F, the Enfield Water Pollution Control Authority must hold a public hearing on the proposed sewer service fees and rates for the upcoming fiscal year. And whereas the town council shall conduct a virtual public hearing Monday, June 15th, 2020 at 5 p.m. that will be available for viewing on YouTube. And whereas due to the public health emergency, public speaking will be by written testimony only, and electors or taxpayers may submit written testimony stating name and address to phbudgetcomments@enfield.org by 5 p.m. on Monday, June 8th, 2020. And whereas all public comments received from any Enfield electors or taxpayers will be posted to a link provided at the town's website at least 24 hours prior to the public hearing. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the order of business for the 2020-2021 budget public hearing will be arranged as follows. Item number 1, mayor will recite the gross number of public comments received, memorializing the fact that they were received by email in accordance with procedures provided by Governor Lamont's Executive Order 7B, issued March 14, 2020, and Executive Order 7I, issued March 21st, 2020. Item number 2, mayor will confirm receipt and review of those public comments by each town councilor as part of the budget deliberation. And item 3, after documenting receipt and review of public comment, the record for the public hearing will be closed. Prepared on May 28, 2020 by the town manager's office.
So moved.
By Councilor
Second.
Muller, by Commissioner Muller, seconded by Commissioner Riley. Again, Chris, this is just to set the public hearing because we have to approve the fees by July 1st, I believe.
That is correct. This is what we have done in past years. The public hearing requirements have been vetted and approved, and actually, we've been instructed by the town attorney. It's the same process we use for the town budget, and this is merely to set the public hearing. And the comments will then, in accordance with what you just read, will be available. They'll be distributed to the council first, and that will be the evening that we have the basically just record what the public comments were and adjourn.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Again, this is to set the public hearing. Deputy Commissioner Suzak, any questions?
All set. Thank you. And everybody
Commissioner
should
Muller.
write in their questions.
Commissioner Muller,
All set. Thank you.
Commissioner Ungary,
No questions, thanks.
Commissioner Hemler,
All set.
Commissioner Bosco,
All set.
Commissioner Keiner,
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Sakala,
I'm good. Thank you.
Commissioner Mangini,
I'm good.
Commissioner Riley,
I'm okay, thanks.
Commissioner Sferrazza.
All set.
Suzanne, roll call, please.
Commissioner Bosco,
All set.
Commissioner Sakala,
Before.
Commissioner Sakala,
4.
Commissioner Hemler,
4.
Commissioner Keiner,
4.
Chairman Ludwig,
4.
Commissioner Mangini,
4.
Commissioner Muller,
4.
Commissioner Riley,
4.
Commissioner Sferrazza,
4.
Vice Chairman Suzak,
4.
Commissioner Ungary.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
By
Second.
Councilor Riley, second by Councilman Mangini. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great
Thank
night.
you.
And thank you for,
Thank you.
again, following us online. And we hope to be able to have our regular meeting as soon as possible on the first meeting in July. Thank you, folks. Good night.